What's up, NBA fans, Pacer fans, everyone who's watching? Welcome to the Corner 3 Show. My name is Alex.
My name's Ross.
My name is Zach.
And it is 10 o'clock Central Time, 11 o'clock East Coast Time. This is the latest we've done a podcast, but for good reason. The first round of the NBA draft just finished, boys. How are we feeling?
Pretty disappointed, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to everyone's feelings in a hot second, but first, since we just finished, or it's about to finish, Ross, do you want to go through, starting with pick number 1, Markelle Fultz? We can kind of go through it and talk about each pick a little bit.
Sounds good. So,
right.
obviously, number 1 was the trade earlier in the week, was at Boston, traded got 3 back from Philadelphia for the number 1, and they also got a future pick next year. I don't remember all the specifics on that. So Philadelphia went and picked who we all expected to be picked, Markelle Fultz with number 1. Shocker? No? Surprising?
What do you think, Zach? I mean, I like Markelle Fultz a lot. I think he's really talented. I don't think he blows me away, but I don't know.
No, he doesn't blow me away. I like Markelle Fultz. I think he was the best prospect in the draft. I keep on wanting to come close to it, but watching him in the couple games I've seen of him, he's not that explosive. Great shooter, can run the point a little bit, obviously, but he's not explosive. Have you ever seen him do all of his dunks? It looks like he's jumping and his arm barely gets over the rim and gets it in there. It's not like a Dennis Smith Jr. where he's like 6'3", got a 48-inch vertical. Steve Francis Jr. But he's a really good player. He's going to fit well with the 76ers, I think. So what do you got now? You've got Fultz, Simmons.
Yeah, the Feds, they're calling it now. It's the
Feds?
It's Fultz. Yeah, the Feds, because it's Fultz, Embiid,
Simmons?
Dario, and Simmons.
Oh, that's right. The Feds.
Huh.
Who's their starting shooting guard?
Well, probably
Covington?
Rashawn Holmes or Thompson, right?
Yeah, unless they get someone in free agency.
Still.
Or no, I'm sorry. It's Robert Covington.
Yeah.
I thought he was a small forward.
Yeah, but I think they're going to go with a lineup where they can switch everyone. That's why I kind of like the pick with Fultz, because he is a bigger guard. You can kind of switch, really 1 through 4, and then Embiid's kind of, the outlier there, but Embiid's mobile too. But going into the second pick with Lonzo, surprised LeVar didn't do anything too crazy. Although, did you see his little post-draft interview, LeVar? It was a little out there. He says that he's going to make sure that his 2 other sons are drafted by the Lakers. So,
oh boy,
no way.
Have fun with that. But I mean, I think we saw that one coming. We don't have to spend too much time on Lonzo.
Yeah, once the Lakers traded away D'Angelo to the Nets, no point guard. It was a lock, I felt like.
Yeah. And then...
number 3, Boston took Jason Tatum. Kind of a Danny Granger. Well, that's some of his comps, right? Danny Granger, Paul Pierce, kind of a player like that.
Yeah, more of a isolation player. Can score from anywhere, really. Really good at driving, slashing, taking a guy one-on-one. Obviously, he's going to have to learn how to play a little bit of defense. When you're at Duke and you're surrounded by all those players, your main focus is pretty much just to score the ball. That just takes time. And he's going to a team that's got a really good coach in Brad Stevens. He's going to be in a place where there's a bunch of players who are hard-nosed. They're going to teach him how to play.
NBA.com here says he boasts Carmelo-like scoring skills. Would you?
I don't know about
put
that.
him at Carmelo
That's pretty
level?
bold. That's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah.
What I would say about him, though, is that, he's probably the most NBA-ready player right now out of any of these teams. He can come in and make an immediate impact because his game and his physical size is there already. But this is a player, since we are a Pacers podcast, this is a player the Pacers, it sounds like the Pacers were targeting with the trade for Boston. And it just seems like the Celtics were pretty set on Jason Tatum and keeping him. They like him enough. So, we'll talk about it in a little bit later. But, were you willing to give up Paul George for, if not Tatum, then Jaylen Brown or Smart or another pick or something like that? But we can get to that in a second. We can kind of go through these next few picks, I think, Ross, pretty quickly because they were all kind of draft express. Everyone kind of had these picks pegged.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6 kind of went chalk, I thought. So 4 was Phoenix picking Josh Jackson. All right, if you weren't taking Tatum, you're taking Jackson. That makes sense. 5, Sacramento went point guard, picked De'Aaron Fox.
I love him.
Yeah, I was, Ringer's been talking about maybe they should have waited on a point guard, picked one at 10 instead of at 5 there. But yeah, Fox that was good. I would love that
Yeah,
Fox.
that was a
And
great
then
pick.
6, Jonathan Isaac, crazy athlete, 6'10".
Potential.
Potential, that's true.
Keyword for him is potential.
Lots of potential there. We'll see what Orlando does with Jonathan.
You know, that's another thing. Like, I like Jonathan Isaac, but is he the fit for the Magic? I mean, what's the Magic's
Late
issue?
bloomer tantalizes with upside.
Yeah.
What's the Magic's issue all year? They got a bunch of
Well-
athletes, but they can't shoot.
Yeah.
So-
But I think the big thing with Isaac is he's someone that, I think now Aaron Gordon becomes an asset you can move, because I don't think they're ever going to win with Aaron Gordon. I think they see Isaac as a 19-year-old kid who I think has a lot more talent than Gordon. Maybe not as athletic, but maybe has more talent to maybe you put a shooter around him. Maybe you package Gordon in his zone. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move sometime tonight or sometime in the next few days, especially after free agency.
Yeah, who does Orlando really have to build around for the future? Gordon,
Exactly.
Hezonja, Peyton, Vucevic, like none
No
of those
one.
names really are cornerstones, right?
No.
So, now number 7, I think, is the first non-chalk, the first kind of surprising. So it was Minnesota's pick, but they traded it to the Bulls as part of the large Jimmy Butler package.
Yep.
And they picked Lauri Markkanen, the 7-foot shooter power forward from Arizona.
Well, do you want to go over that Jimmy Butler trade here really quickly? So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Jimmy Butler and the Bulls' first-round pick for Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn, and then this 7th pick.
Yeah,
So
and the Bulls pick was
Jimmy
what?
Butler reuniting with Tibbs.
16.
Yeah, they picked Justin Patton. I think he's the center from Texas.
Yep. But Lauri
Creighton,
Markkanen,
Creighton.
I think they're hoping
Creighton, my
he's
bad.
Dirk Nowitzki again, 7-footer who can shoot but can't do a whole lot else.
Yeah.
It's just surprising with you're trading away your superstar, your star, to get a high draft pick, and guys like Monk are still on the board, guys with
Yeah.
potential to be a lot higher ceilings, and you go and you
Absolutely.
pick Markkanen. That was weird.
I completely agree here. I think I've been a huge fan of Monk just because I think he can get hot, and there's no you can't really put a stat or intangible on that. But yeah, I didn't get this Markkanen pick. I understand the trade because I know they didn't think Butler was happy, and you never know with Dwayne Wade probably wanted. And then you still have Rajon Rondo on this team, but I just don't get why you wouldn't go with a player you can really build around. I don't know if Markkanen's a player you can build around. I think he's a nice piece, but I think Monk or even Smith, which has more risk, or even Mitchell is someone you can kind of build around.
Yeah, because if you did that, you would have Dunn and you would have a Monk backcourt. Two young
And you
guys.
still have Payne you just traded for too.
You have Payne,
Levine
which
and-
he's a backup, but
This is kind of saying they're done with Mirotic, I think. I would assume. He didn't do much for me last year anyway, but
I mean, who knows? He could be proven wrong. I mean, he was a good shooter at Arizona, could knock down the three. But you've got Wade, you've got Dunn now. You drafted Washington last year, Denzel from Michigan State. Where are you going to put him now? Is he still coming off the bench, or are you just trying to
Denzel Washington.
yeah.
Not Denzel. I mean,
I did Valentine.
Was it me?
Denzel Valentine.
I knew what you meant. I was just listening.
Who was
to
it? Who did it? Valentine. Who did it earlier? It was like me or you? No,
me.
I'm
That
sorry.
was me.
I'm sorry. Let me correct this. My wife did this.
Denzel
It
Washington.
was my wife. She goes, man, I like that.
I was like,
'cause
what?
she's like a Michigan State fan.
I'm just nodding.
for
I know what Zach
basketball.
means. Sure.
And
Yeah.
she said, I like that Denzel Washington. And I was like, you mean Denzel Valentine? And I just did it. Oh, my gosh.
Oh man,
That's
marriage.
embarrassing.
What a beautiful thing.
It's embarrassing.
My wife's rubbing off on me.
All right.
Moving on then, number 8, New York. How do you pronounce this guy's name? Frank Ntilikina. We'll
Yeah.
just go with that. Point guard.
I know
No
nothing
idea.
about him.
I know nothing about him either. He went overseas, or is he? No, he's from France. So
Yeah, he's French.
No, yeah.
He's French.
All I've heard about him is that he's super young, obviously the youngest guy in the draft, and he can play.
high basketball
lot of
IQ
defense.
despite youth.
This is another pick that the Knicks fans hate. Phil Jackson hits on it, and then 2 years he wants to trade him because they don't show up to a meeting.
If you don't go to exit interviews, you're out.
You're out.
You're done.
You're fired.
Oh man.
And then 9, Dallas picks a point guard, Dennis Smith, who we were talking about, crazy athlete. Yogi's
Yeah.
got some competition on his hands.
Yeah, I I wouldn't say I was surprised with this pick, but I'm surprised, with they didn't go with like a wing here. I was even suggesting they reach for Justin Jackson, even though he's maybe not as talented, just because they have Wesley Matthews, they have Seth Curry, they have Yogi, but they don't really have a wing player other than Harrison Barnes. There's really no one else on that team who can play the wing. But I don't know. I think it would be good. But I think Dennis Smith is probably the riskiest player in this draft because a lot of GMs, it sounded like they either loved him or they hated him. There really was no in between.
I think they kind of just went best player available, not for need, obviously, with this pick. But anything on Dennis Smith? I know you were super high on him. Kind of wish he'd.
I wish Pacers would have a shot at him, actually. Sorry, I'm trying to.
No, that's fine.
Screens are going everywhere here. Anyway, I wish the Pacers would have shot him because like I told you earlier, I called him Steve Francis Jr. I mean, 6'3", 48-inch vertical. Guy can score like crazy. Obviously, he obviously wouldn't fit for the Knicks because he's not a triangle offensive player. He's a pick and roll player. He that's the system he would be better at, and that's just the way today's NBA is going. Is the pick and roll drive, open guy for three or a dish for an alley oop, and you got a guy like that who can drive to the lane and get you some buckets. I mean, I would have taken him. If he had somehow, let's say Pacers traded up and we were at 9 or 10, I would have been ecstatic with that pick. I mean, honestly. So.
No, that makes sense.
All right.
Number 10, Sacramento, with their second pick in the first round, take Zach Collins. But he was traded to the Portland Trail Blazers. I don't remember what that – you remember what that trade was about? That was kind of a group of picks, if I remember right.
For Zach Collins,
Portland moved up.
So it was Portland got Zach Collins, the 10th pick, for Sacramento's 15th and 20th pick.
So
they swapped those. Yeah. So they swapped that for Justin Jackson and Harry Giles.
So Portland's gaining Zach Collins to go along with CJ, Dame, Nurkic, a 7-foot freshman from Gonzaga.
Yeah, this pick, and then we'll talk about it in a second, but the Swanigan pick, I just don't, and I tweeted this earlier from our Corner 3 show account, I just don't understand what Portland's doing. Other than the Nurkic pick, I mean, Ezeli, Plumlee, and then, they traded Plumlee, but I just don't understand some of these moves.
Need a lot of bigs in today's NBA, right?
Yeah, but it's like, who just did this? The Magic last year. Remember the Magic? They signed Biyombo, then they signed Ibaka. It's like, and none of it's worked out. I don't understand it.
I don't
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Next, Charlotte at 11 took Malik Monk. Player
Great pick.
everyone's talking about.
Said there.
Yeah, maybe should have gone higher. He can get hot. Microwave. It says quality scorer, shooter. So to go along with Kemba, and who else does Charlotte have? I don't know. Frank Kaminsky.
Well, they got Dwight Howard now. They traded for Howard.
True.
Oh yeah, Nick Batum a little bit.
This is a good pick for Charlotte. They need some offensive oomph. I think some firepower.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to put some weight on. He's still small, especially when he's going to be going against the guys in the NBA. They're definitely going to push him around, but. Like you guys said, he can put up buckets like anybody else in the draft. I was actually surprised to see him go that far down. I thought he would have been at least top 10, but he fell out to 11.
I agree there.
Number 12, then Detroit takes Luke Kennard. A lot of fans thought the Pacers were looking at. Interesting. Shooting guard from Duke. And the draft, NBA says one of the top all-around shooters in the draft. So Detroit adds some shooting.
I don't know.
I like him. I was big on him on those workouts. I think he just can score at all three levels. But we'll talk about it when we get to TJ Leaf. But unfortunately, we saw it on Pacers Twitter tonight. There's a negative connotation with a certain type of player, and we'll get to that in a hot second.
I like Luke Kennard.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good at Duke. He was actually my favorite player in Duke when I did watch him, besides Tatum. I just don't see him being good in the NBA. I know that might be surprising.
Why is that?
Is he a John Schreier? Is he a J.J. Redick? Is he better than both?
Well, I think he's such. I think that
Duke shooting guards.
I think he's such a different player than like a J.J. Redick and a John Schreier. Like those guys, pure shooters, right? Like J.J. Redick, all he does is come off screens. If you watch him play Luke Kennard, he like almost all of his highlights are plays of him off the dribble. They're not him coming off screens. He could really get into the paint easily. He's got a nice floater game. He can finish.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
And I was listening to the Vertical live stream, and they were talking about how his junior year of high school, he set the record for. I mean, not only was he Ohio's leading scorer in Ohio history, beating out LeBron James, but he scored something like 28 rushing touchdowns and like 16 receiving touchdowns his junior year of high school in football. So he's an athlete.
They did say because I listened to serious NBA talk, and they did say he did have the best footwork of any player in the draft, which surprised me. But it's the I know this sounds stupid, but the eye test. Awesome in college. I just don't see him being good in the NBA. That's just me. Especially going to Detroit. It's like the next step to Sacramento. Like you go there to die as an NBA player.
Sorry, Jake. Sorry.
Shout out to Jake Farsters.
It's just how it works.
All right, next pick.
13th pick. Denver actually trades it to Utah. Donovan Mitchell, shooting guard. So in a way, I think this is George Hill's not coming back to Utah. Maybe.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I guess they've also been in talks with Ricky Rubio in Minnesota. So who knows with the Jazz? But Bobby Marks on the Vertical made it sound like he was pretty confident Hayward would return no matter what. But I mean, the Jazz made another move we'll talk about here in a second. I'm sorry, no, is this the move where they moved Trey Lyles? Yeah,
it's
they moved Trey Lyles.
So it was Trey Lyles at a later pick.
24th pick.
There you go.
Really surprised they gave up on Trey Lyles like that. I thought he was someone they really liked. And, I mean, that was a lottery pick a year ago, you know?
Was it a year ago or was it 2 years ago?
It was a year ago. Or 2 years ago, isn't it?
Was it 2 years ago? Yeah, he's a second-year player.
But I think it's pretty. I mean, we value lottery picks with this high esteem an hour before the draft, but as soon as like a lottery pick is actually on a team, their value diminishes so quickly because it's like it doesn't make any sense. But it's just how you value. Like when you hear lottery pick, when you like have a position in the draft that's valuable to other teams, the position itself is almost more valuable than any player you could select, which is pretty amazing. And I think that's why Boston, hasn't made any big moves, is because they value just the asset of a lottery pick, not necessarily what it might bring them.
Yeah, we'll talk about the PG situation later, but that's why everyone wanted it done before the draft, because the position is more important than the player.
Yeah.
Once the player is selected, Anyway, we'll get there. 14, then Miami takes Bam from Kentucky, another monster of a man down low to pair up with Whiteside. Interesting, I thought.
He went higher than I thought he would.
He went higher than I thought. And he's kind of like a light Whiteside in a way.
Yeah.
Physical power down low. Doesn't give you a whole lot of offense, but
he's a defender shots. You need. Like with today's NBA, everything being pick and roll, he's the type of player you need for a big man, a guy who can step out, cover the point guard, but then drop back fast to get his man once you switch.
Yeah. My only deal with this pick though is that he can't shoot at all, and Hassan Whiteside can't shoot at all. So trying to find a way to play them together is going to be frustrating for Spoelstra. That's the part I didn't understand, especially when they have to. I mean, they have to pay waiters a ton, and if they don't get waiters, they don't have another playmaker surrounding Whiteside and Bam, which aren't score first players. It's like where do the points and where does the offensive action come from?
Yeah. I mean, maybe, he's young. They're not going to start him, so maybe he'll just develop as the backup to Whiteside for a while.
Yeah. Then number 15, this was Portland's pick, but it was part of that trade to Sacramento. Sacramento picks up Justin Jackson from North Carolina. Polished scorer, improved every college season, that's what it says.
Yeah, no, I really like him. He's just a scorer. In the tournament, he kind of led North Carolina all the way through. I mean, he's just a solid scorer and got a lot of length. And I got nothing there. I would have loved if he fell to the Pacers.
Justin Jackson, yeah. Sacramento did a lot of nice things in this draft, I thought. Surprisingly.
Yeah, finally.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but just to touch on a little bit, they traded back, got another pick. Got a guy who I can think can contribute right away, and then, as we'll talk about in a minute, number 20, they got a guy that they can develop and has a high potential.
If he can stay healthy. For sure. 16, then, Chicago. This was part of the Minnesota trade. Turn that light off. Move that light. Sorry. Justin Patton, center from Creighton for Chicago. Well, traded to Minnesota. So Minnesota gets a backup center.
Well, they cut Pekovic.
Yeah. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this pick?
I don't
I mean,
know
they still have
anything about
Gorgie Jang. I don't know. I mean, have you guys? I watched I watched a lot of Butler games, and Creighton actually beat Butler twice this year. But Patton, he's a real frail frame, and even when he finishes, it doesn't appear to be that strong. He's a younger guy though; he's only 20, so he can still put a lot of weight on. And that's the thing with a lot of these guys. And once we get to TJ Leaf, we can talk about the weight thing. But for a center, he's 7'1". I think I would still want my center, especially if he's not a good shooter. I need him to be, a banger. He doesn't need to be Bam, but he still needs to be a strong guy who can finish around the rim. And I don't know if he's like that yet. I think he's more of a, like a Tyson, like a light version of Tyson Chandler. Is what I call him.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the guy, so I can't
Me neither.
contribute to that
I did
part.
not watch a whole lot of Big East games
Creighton?
this year. Creighton. Yeah,
East.
sorry about that. 17, Milwaukee takes a power forward from Michigan, DJ Wilson.
Wow.
A lot of
Super
upside
surprised
here.
I thought this was kind of a reach.
Yeah.
I liked DJ Wilson, and obviously he led Michigan to the run that they had. But up to his senior year, he didn't average more than 6 minutes a game.
Was he a senior?
For Michigan?
I thought he was just like a sophomore, right?
I think he's a junior.
Well, junior.
Okay, well,
But up
And
to
I think he's a sophomore. I think he redshirted 1 year. I don't know.
Well, anyway.
Gotcha.
So-
He didn't average more than 6 minutes a game up to this point, up to this year. He did. I mean, he was the guy. He led them all the way through, even with his funky haircut.
Short shorts and everything.
Yeah, he's going to be a stretch four.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but I thought this was a reach, honestly.
Well, looking
No,
who's
I
still
thought-
there
go ahead.
later, I would agree with you. There's some names there that I would rather have taken, but maybe Milwaukee, they're trying to keep that streak going of long, athletic guys. I don't know.
Yeah. I just thought they could even trade back a couple more picks. I mean, there was a lot of drafts that didn't even have him. They had him creeping up, but I just thought that was a reach. I thought there was a lot of other players on the board.
Yeah, most mock drafts had him going round 2, is what I'm looking up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, now we want to get to it.
We'll get to
Yeah,
it.
let's talk about it.
At 18, the Indiana Pacers select out of UCLA power forward 6'10", 225, TJ Leaf.
Let me say before we start, CBS Sports, the only 2 teams and 2 players that got a C+ grade. Everyone else in their draft got an A or a B or some sort of form of that.
Oh, no.
Was Justin Jackson going to Sacramento and TJ Leaf going to Indiana. The only C's the whole first round was what they ranked it.
Who gives a crap?
Going out there.
All right.
Well, you know what it is? I wonder if Adam West works for CBS Sports now. Is that what it is?
Ooh.
Sorry.
All
Adam.
right. Well, we had a more of a civil conversation later, but no, I agree. My initial reaction, I mean, I was kind of confused by the pick, to be honest. I mean, I really like John Collins, but the more you think about it, and the more, I mean, I watched a lot of UCLA. My former high school coach was assistant there, and I watched a lot of UCLA basketball. And when you watch TJ Leaf, he's just a scorer. And yes, I'm sorry that there's this negative connotation around, a skinny white guy who plays at UCLA and it plays on a team where it's run and gun. But he is extremely talented on the offensive end. He can finish at the rim. He dunks on people. He shot 46% from three. Think about that for a second. 46% from three. But at the end of the day, none of this matters because Pacers fans will overreact to a player that they haven't seen that much in person. He plays on the West Coast. You can't tell me you watch 10 UCLA games when they play at 11 o'clock at night.
No.
But what I do like about this pick is because he can shoot 46% from three, it opens up the court for Miles. And Miles needs room to operate. He's not a guy that likes to finish through contact. We talked about, the assistant coach, Bano, bumping him with those pads and him not liking that. But what this does is it makes teams have to guard TJ Leaf on the outside. And I like that because right now Thad is an okay three-point shooter, but TJ Leaf is a great three-point shooter, at least what he showed in college.
Does this make Thad expendable?
I mean, I think
Maybe
that's
not
a
this
nice
season,
contract that you can keep on for a while. I don't think you have to rush to get rid of him.
I like the pick. I mean, from what I saw him, like Alex was saying, he's a perimeter shooter. He's a better athlete than people give him credit for. I mean,
Look up his highlights on YouTube.
Yeah, look up his highlight. I mean, he has averaged at least 8 rebounds a game. He's a rebounder. He scored. You know, the question that I have, I think one of you brought it up earlier, is was he that good because he had Lonzo Ball as his point guard? It's kind of like the Jason Kidd theory. Jason Kidd made Brian Scalabrine. So,
Oh man,
so that's how Brian Scalabrine got that
don't
contract.
be Brian
in.
Scalabrine, please.
Yeah, so it's like, was it all because of Ball being a playmaker? I don't think so. I mean, the guy averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds at UCLA.
Yeah.
He's pretty much, I would say, their second best player. Some people might argue that. There's a couple guys that go in the first round, but I like the pick. This is a guy who you can develop. He's going to stretch the floor. You've got 2 guys out there if you play him, Turner and Leaf, who can stretch the floor, get a 3-pointer for you, open up the lane for whoever we're building with, since we won't have Paul George. So I have no clue what we're going to do anymore. But
yeah, that's why I think there's 2 reasons why I think fans are overreacting on this. One is because Paul George is leaving. A lot of us are expecting to get a wing player to kind of replace that type of player, some kind of athlete, somebody who is going to be a name, the figurehead. I mean, I know at 18 you're not going to get a Paul George type player, but you're expecting something like that. So then you go get a guy who looks like he's like who we play pickup ball with here in Indianapolis. Like, oh, that's okay. You're an NBA prospect. Yeah. Interesting there. And then also the side thing with the Pacers supposedly always draft these type of players. Which Mark Monte put a tweet out. There's only been 2 of those type of players in the last 10 years. There's
only been 2 white guys who were drafted by the Pacers.
Yeah, it's just this
Miles
perception
Plumlee,
that
and who's the other guy?
That's who the Pacers go for.
I don't know. I feel like he's
Hansbrough.
Hansbrough. Yeah.
I feel like he's the skinny poor man's version of Kevin Love.
He's what?
And that's not a bad thing at all.
He's 19, 20. How old is he?
He's 19.
Honestly,
and that's the thing.
I love the pick. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. For 18, I love the pick. That's
just
me.
That's another thing I think about. This is number 18. There's not a whole lot of. If you went through the history of the pick 18, the best player maybe was like Eric Bledsoe or something. So you're not going to get a true game changer really at 18. So a guy like this who's super young and can develop, I think. Now sitting 2 hours later, you're like, it's not too bad of a pick. I think.
Absolutely. I have 2 points. I think that I tweeted this from the account that if this guy has 20 more pounds on him, you look at him and say this kid's going to be an all-star. I mean, look at the moves he's making. Look at the way he's driving to the rim. Look at the way he's shooting. And if you add 20 pounds to that frame, that's awesome. And also, they played Kentucky twice this year, and they beat Kentucky once, they lost once. But in both games, he was the most consistent player for UCLA, and it wasn't even close. Remember how bad De'Aaron Fox lit up Lonzo Ball in that second NCAA game?
Yep.
Meanwhile, I'll give you the stats. In the first game versus Kentucky, TJ Leaf had 17 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 turnovers, while Lonzo Ball had 6 turnovers, went 1 for 2 from 3. And then the game they lost, he again had 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 turnovers. So you've got a player here who's consistent against good competition too. But I think, I agree completely with Zach. We were looking when there was rumors about Boston, the talk accelerating. We were thinking about Tatum. We were all thinking that Tatum might be the guy who could come in here and maybe, be a Danny Granger. But I like the pick. But again, none of this matters because none of these players have been in the NBA, and just nothing matters. I mean, when you drafted Miles Turner, we all thought, well, he kind of sucked his first year at Texas, didn't he? I mean, and he did. And then he came in here and just blew the doors off the place. So
can you imagine?
Just wait.
I mean, I'm just pipe dreaming now. If Boston would have done the trade for the number 3 pick, and you pick the same guy, your 3, 4, 5 is Tatum, Leaf, and Turner.
I love it.
That would be awesome.
That's a nice young core. Yeah.
That's 3 guys 6'8" and above who stretch the floor and can score from anywhere. I mean, that'd be.
And they could switch all 3 of them.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Here's an interesting thought. Last time we took a UCLA product over an Indiana product, who nobody wanted us to take.
Yeah,
it worked out pretty well.
And TJ Leaf wants to be here. He has an Indiana connection.
Yeah, supposedly they interviewed Lonzo and said, "What do you think of your buddy going to Indiana?" And he said, "Oh, good. That's where he wanted to go." So Leaf.
I like that.
And after Paul George saying I want to leave, it's kind of nice to have someone who's pumped to be here.
Yeah,
and he has a connection, right?
He was a prime Indiana target too. I know Tom Crean really wanted him, and I think he committed to Arizona at one point, and then decommitted, and then was really close to committing to IE before he went to UCLA. But I like the kid. He's local roots,
Yeah,
so
well,
that's good.
You told us that on the text. What are his roots again? His Indiana ties?
His dad went to Lawrence North, so the same high school that Greg Oden and Mike Conley went to, and Eric Montross, who played in the NBA. And then his dad played also at Evansville.
Yeah.
I thought I'd bring out, you guys are talking about his height and his weight. So the 4 picks around him, all 6'10". Leafs 225. Harry Giles is 240. So he puts on another 15 pounds. He's a Harry Giles frame. That's not too
bad.
But
you know what else I really like about TJ Leaf? All of his knee ligaments are right where they should be.
Good call.
This is true.
Good call. Sorry, Harry Giles. But
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean here. But,
I did read he has ankle issues or had ankle issues or something like that. Leaf, lower foot, something. Oh,
That's right.
During the season he had a sore ankle, but he played through everything. He just wore a boot during the week. I remember seeing
But now
that.
he's NBA, got doctors and stuff.
Should we just, for timing constraints, should we go through just the interesting picks the rest of the
because I don't know
later rounds?
Sure, I'll just start.
Go ahead.
I'll hop through them then quick. 19, Atlanta, John Collins. Not a lot to say there. 20, Portland traded to Sacramento, Harry Giles, if his knees stayed together.
This is a boomer bust pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
This could be, like I said earlier, they got a guy who I think can contribute right away off the bench in Jackson, and this could be the guy that can be your boomer bust. It's a big risk. I mean, he had the injuries like 3 days before he committed to Duke, where he tore his ACL, and he didn't play that great at Duke this year, but the potential is there because I think before
he was the number one
pick or prospect. Yeah,
I mean, Sacramento had 3 picks in the first round. Fox, who feels like a surefire. Justin Jackson, who's got a lot of potential, and then might as well take a swing at a guy like Harry Giles, right?
I like it.
21, Oklahoma City takes Terrence Ferguson. A lot of Pacer thoughts that people would pick for the Pacers. 22, Brooklyn takes Jarrett Allen, Texas. Kind of a Miles Turner who can't shoot and a little bit more.
Old school throwback. He had a disgusting mustache as well. Disgusting.
Yes. 23, Toronto took Indiana, OG Anunoby.
I was actually kind of surprised that Toronto picked them because they're a team who's going to be over the cap if they don't make some moves, but they also kind of feel like they're close. So OG's a guy who may not even play this year. So to make that pick is kind of telling me that they're not all in on trying to compete in the Eastern Conference right now.
I mean, but just looking at the rest of the first round, besides Swanigan, none of those guys really entice me to make a move. So this is all, to me, potential. Guy that
for sure.
I'm surprised then they didn't move their pick then, if they didn't feel like anyone can make an impact.
Might as well spend it on a guy who won't even play till November or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
but if you move it, though, they're in a win-now mode. You don't want draft picks, and you don't want to take on more salary. So,
I just thought they could. I don't know what they could have done, but this is.
Yeah, so
they're in an odd spot.
Rest of the first round isn't very exciting. So Utah traded Tyler Lydon to Denver. Orlando took, can't pronounce that. He's from Spain. Anziz Pazinik. Portland took Caleb Swanigan. More big men to add to the stable. Interesting. Don't know what they're doing there. Brooklyn, Kyle Kuzma traded that to L.A. L.A. then drafted Tony Bradley. These were his 27, 28. These were the supposed part of the Paul George package. So glad we don't have those.
There'd be nothing you'd want.
San Antonio, Derek White, point guard. I'm sure he'll turn into be an all-star someday because it's San Antonio. Utah then Josh Hart to round out the first round, shooting guard.
And then I can tell you guys, I've got Woj's thing pulled up. Charlotte drafted Duke's Frank Jackson, who I think has an extremely high upside. I was really surprised by that. And then other than that, the most surprising thing I've probably seen tonight is that Sacramento, with a 34th pick, drafted Frank Mason, who in many mock drafts wasn't even projected to be drafted. But the National Player of the Year from Kansas gets drafted at number 35.
And Orlando took
34.
Orlando took Ivan Rabb, who a lot of people talked about last year being a lottery pick in the second round.
Boston selected Semi Ojulier.
Rats.
Which is just kind of interesting because I would say he's about as close of a clone to Jaylen Brown as you could possibly create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a really good defender, physical.
Does that mean they're gearing up for the Paul George trade to give the Pacers Jaylen Brown part of the package? I don't know.
Golden State just selected Jordan Bell from Oregon.
Oh, I'm behind that. I got to refresh.
Anyways, so let's talk
Interesting.
about, I think, the biggest trade of the night by far is the Jimmy Butler trade. So I hate to do winners and losers. So let's not do winners and losers. But what do we think about this? Something I think it was something that, at some point Jimmy Butler was going to leave the Bulls.
I think it's a win-win for both teams, actually.
Thank you. All right. I tweeted somebody, and I got some mad replies, but go ahead.
I don't know why you get mad. If you look at it from Minnesota's perspective, Chris Dunn is behind. You still have Rubio for now, so he's sitting behind him. And what are you going to take, Jimmy Butler or Zach LaVine? You're going to pick Jimmy Butler. So essentially you swap picks and Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler is reuniting with his old coach. So you have Wiggins, Butler, and Towns. That's
Nice.
a good three right there. And then the Bulls get a really explosive and exciting point guard in Chris Dunn, a guy who I think wasn't given a chance to really show what all he can do. I saw him play in college twice and thought he was awesome every time I saw him. So I think the Bulls actually have their point guard of the future in Dunn. And then Zach LaVine is a great dunker, great scorer. He runs the point a little bit too. So you have a guy who can play 1, 2, and 3 for you right there. And then you have a 7-footer who can stretch the floor.
That's where I feel like it dips a bit.
Well, you got to think of look at their roster right now. Who do they have at the forward position?
Bobby Portis and
besides Mirotic.
Yeah.
And my thing with the Bulls is that I don't know. I mean, if Chris Dunn does work out for them, that's a huge for them. Levine, hopefully can come back from this ACL strong.
Bulls just took Jordan Bell.
But now, what is Dwayne? So Dwayne Wade already notified them that he's going to opt in. But what is this? What is this team next year? I mean, Jimmy Butler, I'm sorry, has a lot more impact than Dwayne Wade does on this team, just because of his ability to play both ends and his ability to play almost 40 minutes a night.
So is this the year we can finally say Minnesota makes the playoffs, finally becomes that team?
One more move, and I think they're there.
I think you have Jimmy Butler, you have Wiggins and Towns continue to develop. If you don't make the playoffs this year,
somebody's getting fired.
Yeah, something's wrong. If you put the effort into getting Jimmy Butler,
I can agree to that. Yeah,
something's wrong. Someone's going to get fired if they don't make the playoffs this year. I'm saying now.
I don't know. You got 3 names. You got 3 stars.
But I mean, the Bulls are they're in a rebuilding stage, but they're also, I feel like they're going to be like that team that's fighting for the 8th seed.
They're like the old Pacers.
Because you still got Dwayne Wade, who's only there literally to get his $24 million because he's not going to get that anywhere else from anybody. But yeah, look at it. They just drafted Jordan Bell in the 2nd round, who I wanted the Pacers to get. So you got a guy who's a shot blocking machine. So you got Jordan Bell and Markkanen. So you have 2 big post guys. You got Zach LaVine, that's your new guard in there, and you got your new point guard in Dunn. They've got a really good young core now, I think, especially if Laurie can turn out to be Dirk Nowitzki 2.0, like everyone thinks the poor man's version. But I think it's a win-win. I thought it was a good deal. Yeah. When I saw the rumors originally, remember the rumors originally were for the Pacers to do this.
I wanted that so bad, that package.
Yeah, I was ready for it.
Yeah. No. I mean, I kind of like it. The more and more I think about it, the more I wish we maybe would have pulled the trigger with Russell and taken a flyer on him, even though I don't really like the guy. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Pacers are probably going to get something done during the middle of free agency, and I think we're going to look back on this and say, well, it was probably good we didn't pull the trigger on this. But again, I don't know. What I was talking with Ross about earlier today before the draft was just about how it's kind of exciting how much of a an empty slate this is right now, clean slate of roster moves, really, other than Monte, and then Owls expires, I think, next year. I think it's a player or team option. I forgot what it was. And then Thad's contract, you really have the freedom to kind of build this roster from scratch and kind of build the tempo. And I think what you did with drafting TJ Leaf, although John Collins maybe would have came in and had more of an impact, is you say we are going to build a team for the modern NBA.
Stretch.
Because he can spread the floor, he can run the floor, he's mobile. And John Collins, yes, he's improved, and yes, he's a really good player, looks like. But I think TJ Leaf matches Turner more and also allows this team to be built in a modern NBA way, which Larry just wasn't able to do. I mean, what Larry did was put together the best players. He didn't put together the right players on the team for Paul George.
Update on that Jordan Bell comment I had. Doesn't matter now. The Golden State Warriors have traded for Jordan Bell from the Bulls for cash.
Rats. Of course they did.
So
come on. It's not fair.
That's a good. If you just traded cash for Jordan Bell, that's a good pick right there.
NBA.com.
That must have been a lot of cash.
Man, because he's good. I wanted him. Well, that was a good trade. Yeah, good for them.
Good job.
So
I don't understand though. So Woj tweeted, there was a lot of cash, but I don't understand why. I mean, what are the Bulls trying to do? Make a run at someone? Why do they need the cash? Why would you try to?
Well, are they going to buy
asset?
out? Are they going to buy somebody out?
I just don't understand that at all, because now all you do is hand Golden State, a perfect player to be on their bench unit and to just rebound and pass the ball out to Durant.
Rebound and block.
Oh, well, I don't know.
A lot of it. That's all he says. He didn't actually put how much. Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about the inability of, well, not inability, but the no move made for Paul George tonight? Pacers didn't pull the trigger on anything.
Most Pacer fans are freaking out, I feel like. A lot of our group text was freaking out. But I think, obviously not the right deal was offered, and I trust Pritchard to make – he didn't see anything there that could really push the dial. Once the teams all solidify after the free agency period, or at least in the middle of it, and they start to see what they're missing and he gets to see what they have, I think that's when the trade's going to happen. Paul George will not be on the team come opening day, because that would just be a cancer, a poison to the team. Him sitting there all sullen and pulling a Tinsley or something, it would not be good. So gut reaction, you're like, oh, man, this is not good. But now I feel like the trade will happen, but it'll be for picks for next year.
I just feel like I'm going to be checking Twitter every day now.
I know. My Twitter is killing my phone battery.
You're getting tendinitis and arthritis and all this stuff. But I got like two thoughts on this. I told you earlier, I'm worried that's going to leak, that Pacers had an offer for something that we all would have taken in a heartbeat, and the Pacers turned it down.
That Minnesota deal would look pretty.
That's what I'm worried about. The other thought I had is, how long are they going to keep him? Because unless someone's really desperate after free agency, you're not getting – you might get draft picks, but they're going to want to get rid of salary. So they're going to be sending players to you. And unless they're young players – we're technically not going to be rebuilding next year. I feel like they're going to go into free agency how the Pacers have always been. I think they said twice that the Pacers have only picked in the lottery in the last 20-some years.
Yeah,
we've always been mediocre.
Yep.
And I feel like the Pacers, because they didn't do anything, they're going to go into free agency, get some players, and they're going to trade Paul George for some active players, and we're going to be middle of the road, just outside the lottery and just outside the playoffs this year. That's before free agency. That's before PG's traded. That's just the feeling I'm getting right now.
I so want Kevin Pritchard to be tweeting from his account. Woj bomb, just traded him for whatever. Brooklyn's first next year and something. Please, I don't know.
My honest thought on this is that I don't think his value will diminish as much as people think.
I agree.
I think there's a lot of opportunity here, actually, because I think a lot of teams right now have free agency plans. I think Boston obviously is probably the most notable. They obviously want Gordon Hayward. And if they can't sign Gordon Hayward, which a lot of, most of the people, most fans speculate just because of Stevens, but most Bobby Marks on Vertical and Woj seem to be pretty convinced he's going to re-sign. So let's say he doesn't sign with the Celtics. Then you're looking at the Celtics, who have to pay Isaiah Thomas in a year or two. They just re-signed Avery Bradley. Jaylen Brown maybe isn't the player they exactly expected, and Jay Crowder has regressed. And if the Cavs are taking a step back, the Celtics have to make a move. And at some point, they're going to have to make the move. So I honestly think what's going to happen is Hayward's going to re-sign, and the Celtics then have to make a move, even if it's for a one-year rental of Paul George. And I think they're going to trade for him. I think that's what Pritchard's thinking. I think he definitely called around the league to get the vibe on Hayward, and I think that's what happened. I think that think that the Pacers are holding out until they see what happens with Hayward, and maybe even the Jazz get involved, the Spurs get involved, or the Rockets get involved. But I think the Pacers are making the right move by holding on for the moment.
No, I agree. I liked your tweet earlier about Ainge is piling up all those picks, and eventually someone's got to use them for something. You can't just keep putting young guys. You got to go when you feel it's your time, and maybe it's next year after LeBron possibly leaves Cleveland and the East is wide open.
I look at their roster and look at all the young guys. I mean, they have Terry Rozier, they have even Demetrius Jackson, the point guard from Notre Dame, who they really like. They drafted in the second round last year, but they kept him on the roster. And then you've got the two overseas guys coming back this year, so they have to make roster space for them. And you look at failed lottery picks and failed picks overall, like James Young and R.J. Hunter, and guys who just never panned out.
I got a trivia question for you guys.
Oh boy.
Danny Ainge has been the GM of the 76ers since 2003.
Yeah.
He's had 34 draft picks. How many of those draft picks have been all-star players?
2. I don't know. This is my gut. Wait.
0.
Danny Ainge, of all the players he's drafted since he's
what about Rajon Rondo?
That were actively Celtics.
That are active
Celtics right
No,
now.
Still on the team?
That were Danny Ainge, any player he has drafted, while they were on the Celtics, they were never an all-star.
Rajon Rondo was an all-star once when he was a Celtic. No?
Nope.
You sure?
Wow.
Nope.
I'm trying to go through them backwards in my head. I can't think of.
Because
I'm looking this up.
This was on NBA radio on Sirius. It was their trivia question, and that was the answer: 0.
Wow.
Danny Ainge.
Yeah, somebody.
all-star players.
I think the Ringer talks about Ainge as a trader.
He was a four-time
trader with a
NBA
D.
All-Star from 2010 to 2013.
But I don't know if he drafted him. I think he was.
Was that before Ainge?
No,
No,
he was
Ainge was
drafted.
right there.
Well, he was drafted by the Suns, but
See,
then
there
he
you go.
traded. Like
So
he didn't
traded.
draft
So
him.
technically,
Oh.
Ainge didn't
Yeah.
actually draft him.
Boo.
So Ainge as a trader, D with teams is good, but as a drafter, maybe not so good. So acquiring all these picks has got to make you nervous as a Celtics fan. Like, let's actually get someone who knows what they're doing with the selecting of players. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know.
While we're talking, Tyler Dorsey, Oregon, got drafted by Atlanta. Thomas Bryant got drafted by, Jazz traded to the Lakers. So IU, 2 guys here. Thomas Bryant going to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Trying to develop a big man.
Interesting.
What is your guys? What is your biggest surprise from an actual draft perspective on who people picked? Is there anything that just stood out to you?
I think we've hit on most of it. Chicago, I don't know what direction they're going.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest too.
They're
I don't know. I think I love what Sacramento did actually.
Yeah, I know.
I love De'Aaron Fox.
surprising they actually did smart picks.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't understand what the Knicks are doing. I don't think the Knicks understand what they're doing. And I just think I think people expect a little bit more craziness, but I think, GMs are smarter and probably realize that it's better to wait in free agency to see what happens. And because there's a lot of free agent moves that could determine what a lot of teams do right now. I really do think that that's the Pacers' hope, and I think that's what the Pacers think will happen, is that Gordon Hayward will re-sign with the Jazz, and then
Boston's left without a.
Boston has to make a move,
Yeah.
because I'm sorry, they cannot compete with Jay Crowder as a small forward,
Yep.
and they cannot compete with that current roster,
I agree.
Currently,
even though they were number 1 seed.
Currently on Pacers Digest, people are freaking out.
Yeah.
They always do.
Blaming Pritchard, but they're also blaming Simon. They're saying that the Simons don't want to blow the team up. They don't want to tank. Basically what I said. I was afraid they're going to go get players.
Get
and
the 8th seed again.
They're going to be middle of the road. And that's
I think that's. I mean, I understand that you don't want to just be limbo and mediocrity, but I don't think anything they did tonight or didn't do, means anything. I mean, all they did was they just turned down some trade offers, and if they get a better one, so be it. But I think people thought because of the timing, because it came out on Saturday that PG wanted out, that they're like, oh, it has to happen by the draft.
Yeah.
And, with Woj bombs coming out every other second about their talks, it's like, okay, it's
Feed the
happening.
fire.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. Yeah.
Bad.
But when something doesn't happen, it's like, wait, but Woj tweeted it, right? Like, it has to have gone down. But I think patience is going to be key here, and I think that they're just waiting for the right move.
When has there been a relatively high pick, I don't know, 15 and above, 10 or 20 and above, that the Pacers have made that people go, yes, I'm super pumped, besides maybe Miles Turner? I'm looking through the last
Even Paul
20
George.
years.
Even Paul
George, we
people
all
were
went,
concerned.
who the heck is that? And Googled it. And you're like, I don't know. He looks athletic, sure. I mean, there's no name on there that I remember them drafting besides maybe Danny Granger, who I actually knew who it was and was excited. But, yeah, because Niang, Joe Young, Solomon Hill, Miles Plumlee, there's not a lot of confidence there.
No.
So,
But that's what it's like to be an Indiana Pacers fan.
yeah, so, well, I guess we have to wait till Paul George's situation shakes itself out.
It feels like the trade deadline again. I feel like I wasted my entire week
yeah.
and day. On
It's going to
Twitter
happen. Something's going to
and on a
happen.
computer, just refreshing.
Yeah, I was not on my computer at work all this week, and everyone's texting me, I wish I could go on. Now I'm glad I didn't have to waste my time on
But at least
nothing.
our emergency pod from a few days ago stays relevant for at least a few more hours, Ross. So
true.
people, if you're listening to this and you want to listen to our PG reaction pod, go listen to it. But hey, we've had a pretty awesome couple days of Twitter. Zach's been killing it with the graphics. We're gonna start trademarking our stuff because people are going to have to steal that because it's too good. But yeah, keep on interacting with us. We're gonna keep on those Zach pumps those
take you
graphics
to
out like
Long
it's his job.
Donuts.
Yeah,
Best tweet.
and if you want to help me on my endeavor to make Evan Turner's life miserable in Portland,
Because you got fat on the way there.
He didn't
yeah.
Did he reply to that yet? No, I mean, he
He
probably
won't
won't.
reply.
but I think I got like 45 likes on that one thing. So people
hilarious.
obviously like that and understand what I'm dealing with over here.
I mean, Long's Donuts.
That was good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
But it's true. He did gain like 15 pounds from the time he got traded here till the end.
Alex, the
of
Pacers
that Eastern
ruined
Conference
his contract, future contracts. They made him look worse. It was all
Finals.
Pacers'
no,
fault.
Whatever, he
no,
made,
his gut made him look
$16
worse.
million this year.
Well,
No,
after that good season in Boston, see, they fixed it. Oop.
Yeah. Turn that off,
I forgot
Ross.
to change the timer. I'm
My
sorry.
goodness, this guy, what an amateur.
All
Ross, where
right,
can they
anything
find
else,
us?
fellas?
No, that's all. I think we'll go through what the Pacers will look like after free agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely do a free agency pod and kind of like, I mean, I
Keeps
know
going.
the Vertical does like their live free agency pod, right, which is pretty darn cool.
What is that,
But
July
we'll do one
1st?
probably the day after or something, and yeah, we'll figure this all out.
Yeah.
Stick with us. Check out Zach's graphics. I'm sure there's going to be insane. This summer is rated R for
I like it.
rebuild.
Here,
I like
rebuild.
And then every Miles Turner pun we can think of is
Or-
going to be. Or.
This summer is rated MA for mediocrity attempt. I don't know. I can't really.
Mediocrity.
We'll work on it. We're going to work on it. It was there.
Oh,
It's
no.
just one more.
I can't think. I just feel like we're gonna go nowhere.
See if Zach leaves this in the podcast / video, I'll be pretty surprised because he has editing capabilities and he'll
It's
act
staying.
like he
It
never
is
said that.
staying.
We'll keep it.
Leave that
I
part.
already said Denzel Washington, so
Yeah. All right, Ross, where can
Denzel.
they catch us?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Mostly Twitter. We've been having
Twitter
a lot of
a
fun
lot.
there.
Let's see what else. Google Play, iTunes for the podcast, SoundCloud. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe and like. Tell your friends about us. And if you want to get in contact with us, either Twitter or the corner3show@gmail.com.
And do you like Digital Alex? Isn't it a nice addition to our show?
I think it looks pretty good,
Yeah.
actually, on here. I like it.
There we go, fellas. I'm in a small Chicago apartment, and I'm just waiting for this trade to go down.
I feel like
and
he's
I'm
looking directly into my eyes.
It's like
kinda weird.
Stranger. It's like Stranger Things. I got all these lights around me. asking the lights if Paul George is going to be a Celtic.
If you start
and
putting the lights with like letters underneath them and they light up accordingly, then we have a problem. Yeah.
I need to start doing that because at this point, I think I need to do that for Danny Ainge. Actually, I think he needs that at this point.
Something.
Jeez.
What a guy! All right, well, catch you peeps next time. We'll let you know when our next pod comes out, and thanks for watching.
Peace.
See ya.